Hello, we're going to go over the guided reading for Chapter 3, The Inner Planets. This is pages 84 to 91. Now, our learning target is to understand the differences between the inner and outer planets and know characteristics of each planet. As I go through this guided reading packet, make any corrections you need to. If you get something wrong, make sure you write in the correct answer. Every question, the ones you got right, you should put like a star or a check mark or a smiley face next to those. And the ones you got wrong, you need to make sure you correct. So when I look at your packet, there should be a mark next to every single question. The other thing is if I make any comments, add any extra information, you can write that in the margins and later on add those to the class wiki. All right, so let's get started. Number one, which planets are often called the terrestrial planets? Those are the four inner planets: Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. And terrestrial is, I believe that's a word part, terra, means ground or land. So these are the planets that have rocky surfaces. So that's number two, three similarities among the inner planets. They're small, dense, and have rocky surfaces. All right, three, the inner planets according to diameter. So Mercury is the smallest, so that's four. Venus and Earth are pretty close. The Earth gets the edge, and then Mars is the third smallest. Four, which planet rotates on its axis in about the same amount of time that Earth does? So Mars. So that means 1 day on Mars is similar to 1 day on Earth as far as duration of time. And here's the order of the four terrestrial planets. Number 6, the letter of each sentence that is true about Earth. I think I meant to circle A. About 70% of its surface is covered with water. Not B, goes much further than 1 kilometer. Not C, our atmosphere is mostly nitrogen. And D. So A and D. 7, what are the three main layers of the Earth? The crust, the mantle, and the core. 8, what is Earth's dense inner core made of? It's mainly iron and nickel. 9, letter of each sentence that's true about Mercury. A, Mercury's surface has many craters. B, Mercury has no moons. And D, Mercury is the planet closest to the sun. Now, 10 is important when we start talking about atmosphere and climate change and greenhouse effect. This is an important one to remember. Why does Mercury have a greater range of temperatures than any other planet? It's so close to the sun that the side facing the sun gets very hot during the day. However, most of the heat escapes into space at night because Mercury has almost no atmosphere. It's very important that Mercury has no atmosphere. So the heat escapes into space at night. Then the temperature then becomes very cold. So during the day, there's no atmosphere to block out any of the heat, and Mercury is so close to the sun that it gets really, really hot. But then at night, since there's no atmosphere to trap the heat, all that heat escapes back into space, and Mercury gets really, really cold. So it's a planet of extreme temperatures. 11, Venus. Because Venus is often a bright object in the west after sunset, it's sometimes called the evening star. You can see it just after sunset a lot of nights, and it looks like a star, but it's really Venus. Why is Venus sometimes called Earth's twin? Because Venus is similar in size and mass to Earth. 13, most of the atmosphere of Venus is carbon dioxide. It's a very thick atmosphere. 14, how is the rotation of Venus different from most other planets and moons? Venus rotates from east to west, the opposite of the other planets. So that would mean that on Venus, if you were standing on Venus, which you couldn't be because you'd be crushed by the atmosphere, but anyway, Venus, you would see the sun rise in the west and the sun would set in the east, opposite of what we have here on Earth. 15, true or false? Atmosphere of Venus is so thick that there's never a sunny day on its surface. That's true. And 16, the trapping of heat by the atmosphere of Venus is called a greenhouse effect. So greenhouse effect happens on Earth too. Maybe you've heard of it. But the atmosphere traps heat. The air around us traps heat during the day. And then at nighttime it stays warm enough to survive. So Venus is kind of the opposite of Mercury. Mercury has no atmosphere. Venus has a very, very thick, too thick atmosphere. And it gets too warm. It traps too much heat. 17, why is Mars called the red planet? It has a slightly reddish tinge. 18, the atmosphere on Mars is composed mostly of carbon dioxide. 19, true or false, there are no canals on Mars. That's true, although it kind of looks like it from a telescope or from a passing satellite. It looks like there's lines of rivers and water. Why do some regions on Mars look darker than others? Windstorms arise and blow the dust around on the surface of Mars. The darker regions are often where the dust has been blown away. 21, the letter of each sentence that's true about Mars. Okay, so A, Mars polar ice caps contain frozen water and carbon dioxide. B, Mars has seasons because it's tilted on its axis. And D, Mars has giant volcanoes on its surface. The two moons of Mars are Phobos and Deimos. Comparing and contrasting Earth and Mars. So Earth is mostly nitrogen and oxygen atmosphere. Mars is mostly carbon dioxide. Earth has one moon, Mars has two. Both have seasons. Both have a solid and rocky surface. Earth is 70% water, and Mars has water at the poles and possibly underground. And F, because we talk a lot about going to Mars and starting a colony on Mars, that would be kind of like the next big science exploration, space exploration, would be getting humans to Mars. The challenges are that humans could not survive without life support in the mostly carbon dioxide atmosphere. We'd also have to find usable water, so there's a lot of drawbacks, but I'm guessing hopefully we can make it work. It'd be pretty exciting. All right, that's it for the inner planets. Again, make sure you have a mark next to every single question. That just kind of proves that you've gone through and checked everything. Anything that you need to add, you can write in the margins. If you had any mistakes, make sure you correct those.